Well, we have done several segments on the program about the move to uh, have bail reform, whether really get rid of it totally or reform it. It's happening in many states around the country. We're going to be talking today to Ken Good, who is a bail attorney. He's been talking about these issues for a long time about some efforts that are going on back east as well. Ken, good to have you with us on the program today.
Thank you very much.
I think we're going to talk about a specific incident. Tell us the background of this case.
Well, in Harris County, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, plaintiff's attorneys filed suit alleging that the bail schedule that was used in Harris County, adopted by all the misdemeanor judges, violated due process equal protection because it did not give defendants an opportunity to claim poverty, that they wanted a deviation from the bail schedule. And I think that argument was true. The problem is once they filed suit, they demanded much more than that to ever settle. And in the end, that's what their settlement is. They wanted things that the court could not even give them to settle, and such as, they wanted to get rid of private surety bail in almost all situations, which is not authorized by Texas law. And so they got through settlement what they would not be entitled to even on a trial on the merits on many issues.
Wow. So as a result, you're saying then that they did lose that case at this point, or?
Well, what they did was, this was a case that was taken up on appeal to the Fifth Circuit multiple times on a preliminary injunction hearing, and the county was winning the appeal, but the plaintiffs used that as fodder in an election to claim, that all the judges should be replaced with other judges who would be willing to enter into a settlement, and that's what happened. They won the election, and so they got new judges. And so in the election, they were arguing, well, we need to settle this case because we spent $8 million in attorney's fees. So the new judges come in and they agree to settle it, and now they're putting a down payment towards all the things that they've promised to do in the settlement in the neighborhood of $95 to $100 million. And so it's just weaponizing a federal court to impose political agendas instead of legal arguments. And nobody's looking after the taxpayers when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it brings up, I think, broader questions too about the whole scope of bail. There has been, of course, this argument that bail is discriminatory, that those who don't have money can't get out, and in some cases lose their jobs, that kind of thing. And in some states, of course, they've already passed reform. I think California is going to be starting in January with the reform that's going on. So it's been an interesting struggle, and I think we're just going to continue to see this kind of thing, are we not?
Well, we're seeing people. We are going to see more instances where people want to make reform. What we're seeing, though, is a lot of the states and jurisdictions that have tried some of these things, like Alaska, has come back and said, "Whoa, these things are not working." And what you promised us about these reforms, the truth is the opposite. So we're repealing the reforms that you've talked us into doing. And so we are seeing quite a bit of that, especially in Alaska and other jurisdictions as well. And I think you're going to see more of that because, the truth is we have societal ills, we have schools failing, we have dropouts increasing, we have drug issues, and what we're seeing is people are projecting all of those societal ills and trying to fix them through bail reform. And, what's the old saying? The first rule is to do no harm. Well, the reforms, bail was never intended or meant to address all those societal ills, and if you try to do that, then you're going to create harm for the criminal justice system and other places where cases start getting backlogged more and justice delayed is justice denied. And so you're going to see a backlash, and we already are seeing it in some areas because, the bail industry or community has been around for hundreds of years. There's a reason why. They do a simple job of getting people to court, and they do it very well.
Yeah, they do. And one of the things, of course, that some of the reform laws have put in effect is really gives a lot of that power to the judges themselves in order to determine if someone should be released or kept in jail, if they're going to be violent, that kind of thing. And I suppose that depends on the judge's leanings, what they feel about criminals and that kind of thing. I think that's a lot of that, is it not? Is it not a political thing?
I think it's becoming more and more of a political thing. Is if you're on one side of the political spectrum, you have to take certain positions, and if you're on the other side, no matter what statistics show, you have to take a different position. And one of the things that I keep saying is this should not be a left or a right issue. This is what's in the best interest of the criminal justice system. I mean, we should be able to agree what works and agree what doesn't work. And we're at a point where we can't even agree on simple terms like that right at the moment. And hopefully through, just talking about it, and also as these other jurisdictions have a backlash, we'll hopefully get to that point. Because, bail just does a good job of getting people to court. And, I like to say that the bail industry is the grease that keeps the criminal justice system moving, because, if you get backlogs of cases that keep growing, they arrest about, on average, the same number of people every year. And so if you can't get them resolved, then you've got a bigger backlog to carry over to the next year. And as the backlog grows, then your criminal justice system either slows down or at some point it shuts down. And so, that's a public safety issue that over time we can't allow to continue. So, this system that we're setting up in some jurisdictions like California is set up for failure. And even the people advocating for it know that.
And I suppose that failure is going to take place in many, many different aspects of society, from perhaps crime rates going up, who knows? But there are those, as you mentioned earlier, that really don't want to incarcerate anybody, which would be total chaos. Anyway, Ken Good, we thank you for joining us. This is something that's not going away. We're hearing more about it, and we will continue to kind of brief you on what's going on in different states and different areas. And of course, the California one just started as well, so we'll see what happens with that as well.